Hello and welcome to Beauty in the Biz, where we talk about the business and marketing side of plastic surgery. I'm your host, Catherine Maley, author of Your Aesthetic Practice, What Your Patients Are Saying, as well as consultant to plastic surgeons to get them more patients and more profits. And today I have an incredibly special guest all the way from Beirut, Lebanon, and his name is Dr. Shady Hayek. Does he have the greatest name? Shady Hayek. So he is a plastic and reconstructive surgeon practicing in Beirut, Lebanon, as well as Riyadh. And for those of you who don't know, Riyadh is the capital of Saudi Arabia, and it's about 1,500 miles away. So we'll talk about that as well. And he's been in practice for over 12 years now. Now, Dr. Hayek is a member of, as well as speaker at, several of the national as well as international medical conferences, including ASAPS and ISAPS. And that's where we met at several conferences throughout probably the world. Dr. Hayek's also on editorial boards, and he's a reviewer of several medical journals, and he's also authored numerous articles on his own. So suffice it to say, he's very active in the medical community. So Dr. Hayek, I wanted to welcome you to Beauty and the Biz.
Thank you, Catherine, for this nice introduction.
You are welcome.
It's a pleasure to see you again.
Yeah, thank you. You too. So tell me, it's a big question over here. We have watched what's been going on in Beirut, Lebanon. And if you could just give us an update, what happened and how are things now? And where were you in proximity to everything happening?
Well, it's an unfortunate accident and a devastating one at the same time. Luckily enough, I was outside the country due to COVID quarantine at that time, so I was with my family in Saudi Arabia when this happened, and I just happened to visit Beirut about 2 weeks ago, where the airports first opened here in Riyadh, and I was pretty amazed, and still pretty amazed at the amount of destruction that this explosion has caused. Every time I passed through that area, I discovered new buildings that were supposed to be there, and they are not there anymore. They're just rubbish now. And so it's really devastating from both an economical and business point of view, as well as from a personal and a humane point of view. There are many families that have been left without homes. Many families that had lost their property, lost their relatives or their beloved ones. It's a real tragedy.
How far away was your practice from that? Because I see on Facebook you were saying we're coming back. So you must have been affected, your practice.
Yes, actually, a huge area was affected by the blast, including the building where my clinic in Beirut is. It's about 3 kilometers direct line from the center of the explosion. So all the glass in the building was destroyed, and we had to replace that. Luckily enough, it was in the evening, and my staff were not present in the clinic, so there were no bodily injuries in my clinic. However, there has been some bodily injuries in the clinics nearby who were still operating at that time on that day. But luckily enough, we did not have any casualties in my clinic. We just had some property damage that we were able to reconstruct and to come back to business.
Wow, that's amazing. So are you how much capacity are you back? Are you full 100% capacity now, or where are you at with that?
Well, from a physical point of view, we can be at 100% capacity. However, because of the limitations in the travel and the limitations in the COVID, we are now practicing at around somewhere between 40 and 50% capacity. We have to limit the presence of people in the clinic. We cannot schedule appointments as close as we used to. We also have to take into consideration that whenever I go back to Beirut, I have to be quarantined for a while until the PCR result is out and negative. The same thing happens when I go back to Riyadh. So I have to take that into consideration. So I cannot do any more the weekly travels back and forth, but now I'm doing like 10 days of stretch in Beirut and then 3 weeks or 20 days in Riyadh.
Holy cow, I forgot about that. So if you leave Riyadh and you go to Beirut, are you quarantined for 10 days?
No, if I well, there are some people who get quarantined for 14 days, even not for 10 days.
Uh-huh.
But the way it happens, if you do your PCR and it is negative before you travel, and
Okay.
then you repeat the PCR when you go to the country, you have to be quarantined for 48 hours until the PCR result is
I see.
out. If it's still negative, then you are free to move around with taking the precautions of social distancing and wearing the mask and washing and all this stuff. But if the PCR result is positive, then you have to get quarantined for 14 days with no symptoms.
I gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Oh dear. Wow, that's complicated. Okay. Because how were you set up? Because you have a full practice in Beirut, and then did you have a full practice in Riyadh? And do you have
Yeah.
like two full practices and you're moving back and forth?
Yes. So the way it used to happen before, when you do the surgery, you usually see the patient about 5 days to 1 week after the surgery.
Mhm.
So and there's a difference in the weekends between Riyadh and Beirut. So the weekend in Riyadh is Friday, Saturday. The weekend in Beirut is Saturday, Sunday.
Yes.
So I used to get to make use of this difference, and I used to spend in Riyadh Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then spend Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in Beirut.
Okay.
This way, if I do a surgery on, let's say, Thursday or Friday, I can see them back on Wednesday when I come back. And if I do a surgery in Riyadh on Saturday or Sunday, I can see them back the week after when I come to Riyadh.
Gotcha. I was actually in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, a couple years ago, and that was really throwing me off that Sunday was Monday for me. That's funny. It's just so
And the
arbitrary.
first day at work.
Yeah, yeah, okay. All right, so regarding business, like setting up a cosmetic practice, we'll just talk about your practice in Beirut. Is that your main practice? Like, is Beirut the main practice?
Well, I consider them both main. It's like
Okay.
50-50, since I used to spend my time 50% here and 50% there. So I put all my efforts in both of them.
Gotcha. And then,
Equal effort.
okay, when you set that up then, because I noticed you also have another surgeon as well as a dietitian. So are those practitioners, are they also moving back and forth with you? Are you trying to mimic your practice? Like, how does all that work? Like, does staff go back and forth, or how are you working that out?
No, my staff in Beirut are constantly in Beirut, and my staff in Riyadh are constantly here in Riyadh. Now, the surgeon who used to be with me currently is in Canada. She just finished 2 fellowships, one in breast reconstruction and one in burn surgery. She was supposed to come back, however, due to the situation in Lebanon. I told her try to stay in Canada
Yeah.
if you can. No, we're not sure if she's gonna come back or not, but I hope she can be able to find something in Canada, as the situation in Lebanon is not a good one to start practice right now.
Right. All right. So managing staff, how are you doing that if you're not there? Do the staff only work when you're there, or do they also do services? I always wonder that. Like in America, a lot of times the surgeons do the surgery and then they have a med spa where they have non-surgical treatments done by nurse injectors or laser techs. Do you have the same situation over there?
It's almost the same. It's against the law to have an injector in your practice
Oh,
here in the Middle East. Okay, so only the doctor can be the injector. However, other staff, non-surgical staff such as laser hair removal, laser resurfacing, facials, mesotherapy, light peels, name it. All these spa kind of services that do not need the presence of surgeon can be done by the technician who is certified. And this is how my practice keeps on going while I'm not there.
And then do they manage themselves? Do you have a manager managing them, or who's watching the shop? Who's handling that?
Yeah. So I would start by saying the key factor is to find the right people that you can trust when you are absent. The right people that work by being conscientious first, and second, by you trusting them with your property, with your patients, with your equipment, with everything. So this is the number one key for having this to succeed. The second key factor that has been in the past few years active is the social media, and this has helped us a lot in remote monitoring, remote communication, remote meetings, and we can notice that during COVID, like me and you right now, we are about 10 hours away in time zones, and here we are having this conversation. So the same thing, I have this conversation on a daily basis with my staff. We debrief their day. We make sure that everything is on track. If they have any questions, if they have any concerns, they can ask me during the meeting, and we tackle them. And I'm usually absent only 3-4 days a week, so 2 of them are a weekend. So I'm not that very absent from my practice in Beirut.
Okay. One issue that I have noticed consulting with practices, a concern is embezzlement. And whenever cash is involved, that can cause some trouble. Is here in America, everything is very much credit card related, so that's helpful. But over there, is it also credit card, or is there a lot of cash involved?
We practice, we use several kinds of payments. Cash is our main source. And then we use credit cards, we use checks, we use bank transfers. But again, if you have a person, the right person that you can trust in place, then you can trust them even with your cash.
And do you have any pearls for how you find the right people? Do you have any, is there something special you're doing to find and trust people?
First of all, for you to make people trustworthy, you need to be a trustworthy person.
Yep.
You need to be transparent with your people. You need to be a true leader where you are there for them in their troubles as well as in their pleasant times. So the way I treat my staff is like a family. If they have even a personal problem, they can always come to me, and I'll try to help them as much as I can. Sometimes they come even for personal advices. Being close to them makes things much easier. I do believe that sometimes managers and leaders, they need to be decisive, they need to be strict, but this does not have to come at the expense of being a true advisor, a humble leader. So being a humble leader makes things much easier from this trustworthy side.
You know, you happen to have that kind of personality. I know I gravitated to you the minute I met you. There's something about you that's very disarming and transparent and honest. And I think you're so right. You have to be who you want to attract. And I think you're like that. You're warm and friendly and open. And I think that's what shows in your staff. So you've attracted the same people that you want. So congratulations.
This also reflects on your practice. So I believe that the surgeon also attracts the kind of patients that like that personality. So even I've heard this from the other staff where I work, where I get my surgeries done, from anesthesia, from nurses. They always comment that your patients are always pleasant, your patients are always calm, they're not angry, they're not shouting, they come to the surgery as if they are coming to fulfill their dreams. They are smiling, they are not anxious. when the patient is going under the knife and going under seizures, many times they are they are anxious. But when you have somebody that you are trusting with your life, and you are sure that this person is going to do all he can, all he has in his capacity to do to make you look better and to keep you safe, then you are going there with less anxiety, more pleasant, and your recovery will be more smooth than others.
For sure. So, since you've been in practice, I love to learn from mistakes made. And we can all, rather than make this mistake again and again, I'd rather learn it from somebody who already made one. So, can you just share just one mistake you made when building your practice that others could avoid?
Trusting the wrong people.
Yeah. It's so true. Okay. You want to elaborate?
Although I started my talk about being humble leader and being trustworthy to have others trust you, you have always to be on the watch of people abusing their trust. And this has happened a couple of times with me. But when you are alerted for that, then you try to avoid it.
Okay. Would you say staff has been the biggest challenge of growing a practice or something else?
I would say no, it was something else. It was partners.
Oh, good point. Yes. How do you find that? Because that's always the $1,000,000 question. Who do you partner with?
Well, the reason for that is that here in Saudi Arabia, the way to build a practice is that you always have to partner with a local. Either a local businessman, or a local surgeon, somebody who has the ability to create a business here in Saudi Arabia. So finding that partner has been a struggle for a while, but luckily enough, I was able to find somebody who is trustworthy, and we speak the same language, both from a patient care point of view and from a business point of view. And this is very important. So, in cosmetic surgery, you have two major pillars. One of them is quality of care, quality of products, quality of services. So you have to maintain that. You have to maintain a high quality of whatever you are offering for your clients. And on the other side, since cosmetic surgery and cosmetic services have been quite popular in the past, let's say, decade or more, and then your prices have to be reasonable. Cosmetic surgery is not anymore for the elite. Everybody, if your income is $1,000 or your income is $10,000 a month, then you want to look beautiful. You want to look presentable. And making this available to or tailored to several economical statuses makes your practice grow faster and larger. At the same time, you cannot compromise on quality. So there has to be always the balance between getting the high quality products, high quality services, and yet at the same price level, and a competitive price level. Okay. So finding someone who can understand these two pillars is very difficult. And finding someone who is willing to invest and not looking for the fast return on investment, okay, is also difficult. So, but luckily enough, I was able to partner with someone here in Saudi Arabia. It's a joint clinic, and so far things are great from that perspective.
Okay, when you partner, is it a 50-50 kind of thing, or do you bring them on as a consultant and pay them a fee? How does it work over there?
Well, there are several business models. One of them, you have mentioned them, is 50-50. One of them is you say, I don't want to take care of any overheads or any expenses, so you try to estimate those and take them out of the percentage. So there are several models that you can do. The model does not really it's not very important, because at the end of the day, when you calculate the numbers, all the numbers will come to the same end, to the same result. The most important thing is to find that partner who you can trust and who speaks the same language that you are speaking, and then having the equation becomes additive.
I always recommend that you have the same values and vision, and you really have talked deeply about how you feel about patients, about business, what you said, patient care. Are you looking at the patients as a dollar, or, as money, or are you looking at them as a person? I think you have to share those values.
I fully agree with you. I thought these come under the umbrella of quality,
Yeah.
Because when I say quality, it's not just quality of products; it's also the quality of the service.
Mm-hmm.
So the service, under the service, comes how you treat the patient, how you manage the patient's expectations, how you follow up with the patients, how you make the patients feel comfortable about themselves, about being cared of. And if you look at the reviews that I get for the patients, either in Arabic or English, on ESAP or on Google or anywhere, there's always a repeated message from these patients, is that we felt cared about. The doctor answered all our questions. He was available all the time, 24 hours over 24 hours. He gave us his personal number so that we can get in touch with him whenever we needed. Before the surgery, during the surgery, after the surgery, we felt cared for. We felt taken good care of. Mm-hmm. So this is the repetitive message that you get through reading the reviews patients write about me. So the point of the service, under this comes the vision and the care for the patients. Like you said, do you view them as dollars, paying machines, or as human beings that are really paying to get a good service?
Well, I'll tell you, it's universal. Human beings want to be treated well. And the better you treat them, the right ones, you have to get the right patient on board, but the better you treat them, the more they'll help you grow your practice. I've been singing that song for 20 years, and it's so true.
And it is reciprocal. It is reciprocal. Mm-hmm. So whenever you treat a patient well, even if you end up with a complication, they always understand that this is a complication, and they treat you back well. So it is being good to the patients is reciprocal, and being arrogant and not treating them well always is also reciprocal. If they have a problem, they are going to make sure that you get punished for that.
Mm-hmm. So when I was in Jeddah, I was trying to understand, like, what did they want there, because I didn't know if the patient was any different there than in the U.S. And in the U.S., they want everything. They want everything, and it can be over the top. But over in Jeddah, in Saudi Arabia, I thought that they would be different, and it turns out no. They pretty much wanted what everybody wants. They just wanted to look good, feel good about themselves, but they were wearing the garb. I can't remember what it's called now. I'm sorry, I can't remember all of that. And I thought, well, who would care? Like, why do you care? And it turns out they care. Everyone cares about how they look and feel. So, would you say it's like that in Beirut?
So that they can feel good about themselves. Mm-hmm. And this is the real essence of cosmetic surgery. If the patient is trying to feel good or to look good for somebody else, because the surgeon should be very careful about that. Mm-hmm. If the real essence of cosmetic surgery is that the patient is doing it for herself, for her or him to feel good about themselves. And if you look at the WHO definition of health, okay, it's the well-being of the body and the mind. So doing cosmetic surgery really has a good thing about feeling good about yourself, thinking well about yourself, being in harmony with yourself.
So
not for others.
Is the stigma, like in the US, we have all these crazy TV shows that have been very helpful, and we have those celebrities like the Kardashians. Do you have Housewives of Saudi Arabia or Housewives of Beirut? Because that's really been helpful to now open up plastic surgery to the masses, not just the elite, not just the rich, but to anybody or everybody who wants to feel good and look good.
Well, it is open for everybody. Okay, we do not have those shows that you have, reality shows that you have in the United States. They tried a couple of shows in Beirut. They didn't really work well, or at least I don't know if they work well or not. But the important thing is that cosmetic surgery is open for everybody, not just for the elite, and that we do not really need any more of those reality TV shows, because the social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter have made things available for everybody. You don't need to attend a reality TV show. You can just pick up your Instagram and scroll through the photos before and after, and go into the accounts of doctors and see who really fits what you need, so that you can go and choose their practice.
I will say this though, from a marketing perspective, I think you need to still be everywhere, because the whole world is not on Instagram. A group are, but others are not, and it's not even generational. Like, I happen to be into social media because I run a business. Typically, I don't think I would have been in it because it's time consuming, but I would never know you if I weren't on social media. And so you're always trying to figure out, where are the patients and where are they getting their information, and then be there. So when it comes to marketing and attracting new patients, do you have a plan? Or is it all social media now? I did see you on Instagram TV, so you did a live feed. Good for you. So how much are you doing on social?
Well, to sum it up, you have to be on social platforms. Now, which platform? As you always preach in your consultations and in your emails that you send all over, you cannot just choose one platform and say, this is the best, this is where I want to be. You have to be present everywhere, because people are on Instagram, others are on Twitter, others on
Facebook.
Chat. Snapchat is now a big thing here in Saudi Arabia. Okay. There are still people on Facebook. There are still people who want to just read an email or read an article in a magazine or see a TV interview. So you have to be present everywhere. You cannot just choose one platform or one media and say, this is where I want to concentrate my efforts. It doesn't work like this. Now, the tricky thing about this is some people overdo it. I don't want to mention names, but some people really overdo it, and probably to get some attention, or to be like an outlier, so that they are like showing up alone. I don't think there is a need to do that. Being on social media does not mean being disrespectful to patients, does not mean to be disrespectful to your practice. So there are still norms that you need to follow. You still need to give the right information in the right way to the patient. You still need to be educating the people about the real plastic surgery. There are still many people who come to my practice and they have a twisted idea about plastic surgery. They think you can change the way they look in plastic surgery. They think that plastic surgery does not preserve the natural beauty. And I always tell them that beauty and the long-lasting beauty is the natural beauty. If you do anything that is unnatural, even if it is a trend right now, after a while it's not going to be a trend, and you're going to want to change again. So being classic, being conservative, doing the things that will preserve your natural beauty is the right thing to do. And this applies to fillers, Botox, surgeries, whatever you are looking for in cosmetic business. This is how, even makeup, it has to preserve your natural beauty. It cannot make you another person. It doesn't look natural. It doesn't look nice. And I always give this example: if you see a very nice flower and you run to it from a distance of 10 meters, whenever you reach that flower and you find that it is not natural, it is synthetic, it loses its quality. It loses its attractivity. It becomes something that you can buy over the counter from anywhere. So being unique, being natural, this is what makes the person themselves. This is what makes the person unique in his own nature and beautiful in his own nature.
Gotcha. So where would you say the majority of your patients are coming from? Is it the internet? Is it word of mouth? Is it social media? Or do you know? Because it's become very difficult to track.
It does become difficult to track, but if I were to guess, there are two major channels. It is the social media, and this is number two, and number one is the word of mouth.
Yep.
If somebody has good experience with the surgeon and he tells his friend or friend that this is the surgeon that I went to and I did this and this, then this is a 100 times stronger message than just showing a video or a photo on any platform else.
And you know what? I just wrote another blog post called Differentiate or Die, and that's your differentiator. If there are, we have to talk about the competitive nature of that, but let's say there are 5 surgeons in my area. The differentiator is the one that my girlfriend told me about. Like, you don't need anything else almost, unless you completely botch the consultation. I already came pre-sold on you because my girlfriend had what I want done. She looks fantastic. She's raving about you. That's as differentiating as far as I'm concerned as you can get.
I call them ambassadors. Those patients who give the word of mouth, they are my ambassadors who are telling others about me and raising awareness about my practice.
Yeah. Back to social media, I just want to ask, how much time are you putting into it? Because I am skeptical about that. I know some surgeons, and you've been at the meetings where they say they're on there 3 or 4 hours a day. And I just think, oh dear Lord, like you've had to become marketers and surgeons and managers of staff and a businessman, and there's a lot on your plate. So how do you figure all that out? Like, what kind of time to put into something like that?
Definitely, you have to be there on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Okay, but definitely 3 to 4 hours a day is an exaggeration.
Yeah.
Even if you are doing it, it is an overdone thing. So I usually spend about 10 to 15 minutes on my social media every day, unless I have inquiries from patients that sometimes come on social media that I always answer. But I would not say more than 30 minutes a day that I'm on social media. So I usually concentrate on stories, what's happening with me during the day, okay? And then my designer, I have a person who takes care of designing the posts, design some posts a couple of times a week, and this is it.
But see, you have people that help you with that, and some of the surgeons don't understand that yet. They're trying to do it all themselves, and that's why they're spending so much time on there.
You cannot be the jack of all trades, right?
Yeah. I think you need to set up systems for how much is you and how much can you develop a process around what do we do when somebody DMs me? What do we do when they have a question? I mean, I think you need to set up systems for that because you cannot be everywhere.
When somebody DMs me, I always answer because they need somebody who knows what they're answering, and the best person to answer them because they are direct messaging me because they have a question in mind. So, and many times, or all the times, it is of a medical background.
Mhm.
So, for example, what do I need to do in 5 days after surgery? For example,
Right.
Okay,
Right.
or can I shower today, or can I travel today, or whatever. So usually it is of a medical kind of question, and this has to be answered by me. So I don't let my social media people to answer the patients, or if they answer the patient, we tell them we will get to the doctor and he will get back to you ASAP.
Mhm.
But as far as the design point of view, I always leave it to the right person to do the right job. I might give them directions. What's the message that needs to be highlighted behind that post? What's the topic that needs to be discussed during that post? But other than this, anything that's related to marketing and design, I leave it up to them.
Gotcha. Out of all the marketing you've done throughout the years, what's like one of the biggest flops that you've had, or mistakes, or just it was just a terrible waste of your time, money, or effort?
I wouldn't say there's any marketing that's a waste of your efforts, even if it does not have an immediate return on investment. It will have a later return on investment. So I wouldn't regret any of the marketing efforts that I've done before, but I would say that I became more mature over time.
Okay.
I started to know how the patient thinks and try to tailor that message during my marketing. Now, I don't know if you have any idea about design thinking.
Hmm.
So in design thinking, instead of creating the item and giving it to the marketing people to put the marketing plan for it, you involve the end consumer from the beginning. So let's say that I am designing a telephone. Okay, the classical way it used to happen, somebody, an engineer, used to come and to think about what are the features in the telephone. For example, we need a camera, we need an audio, we need a dial-in, we need blah blah blah. Okay, and then design the phone and give it to the marketer, and the marketer will put it in a package to give it to the customer so that the customer can be interested in this telephone and buy it. Now, in design thinking, I involve the customer at the first stage of building the phone. I start by asking the customer, what do you need in a phone? Do you need a camera? Do you really need a camera on the phone? Do you really need a good audio on the phone? Maybe they need a good speaker. Mm-hmm. Maybe they need just an earphone. Okay? I cannot really be in the mind of the patient unless I ask them. So having that input of the customer into the design early on helps you to create a product that appeals to the customer. And this is the basic idea of design thinking. And now design thinking is a big thing in almost everything we design, from healthcare to hospitals to buildings to cars to bicycles, telephones, watches, everything you can think about. You can involve design thinking in that area. And this is one of the major things I learned when I joined MIT and also Harvard Med School for the surgical leadership certificate, is how to look at what the customer, the end user, needs in your services. And this has impacted the way I advise my marketing people to design their posts. For example, if we say a patient is looking for rhinoplasty, if we can start our design by thinking or by trying to find out what does the patient want when she's looking for a rhinoplasty. Does she want, for example, a straight nose, a curved nose, a small tip? So if you start highlighting those things for the patient in your design, in the way you take your photos, in the way you highlight your photos, okay, in the message that you write under the photos, then this makes your post more educating, more appealing to the patient, rather than having the patient trying to look at the details that she wants in that photo.
So true. You know, another spin on that, I read Richard Branson's one of his books, and he said, the way I do it, I get the team together, like the way he created the airline. He said, okay, team, or maybe he got consumers, and he said, what do you hate about this experience? And they just chopped it up, you know, and we all have a whole list of complaints about travel. And that's how he developed. So he took all the complaints and turned them into, okay, this is what we offer, the opposite of that. So I thought that was,
Yeah.
you know, same thing. Yeah. All right.
So actually, there's a very nice company in the US called IDEO.
Oh.
And what IDEO does, all they do is design thinking. So let's say that you want to reshape the movie theater experience in a certain city. So what they do is that they go and they start gathering information from the extremes of the consumers, from those who watch movies every day and from those who do not go to the movie theater at all in their life. And they try to gather information. Why? How? And it's like open-ended questions. And then they synthesize these ideas or the information that they get. They put it into groups and then try to look at how we can solve this problem. How can we make those who go to the movie theater every day keep going every day? What's their major concern about going there every day? Maybe it's having a special booth for tickets for those who are frequent visitors, for example. Okay, then how can we get those who do not get to the movies? Why do they don't get to the movies? How we can move them into people who go to the movies? Why? Is it movies are too boring, or is it too much traffic? Are they afraid of closed spaces, for example? So sometimes you find out things that never occurs to your mind, how people would think. And you can only know it by asking the right questions and letting people, giving them the opportunity to express how they feel about it. And this is how you really can tackle the problems that patients are facing in any service or product, and make it better for them so that they can use it more.
You know, what you're talking about is very much coming from a growth mindset. So it sounds like you're open to learning and growing and adapting. So you've taken some courses, it sounds like. Are you a big reader, or how are you keeping up in the world of all of this, business and marketing? Is there anything you're doing specifically?
Well, keeping yourself updated and always considering yourself as a student, not as a master. Once you start considering yourself that you are the master, you know it all, then this is where you start falling. As surgeons, we learn this. As doctors, actually, we learn this. Many times things are done in a certain way for many years, and then there's a study that comes out, and you just discover that what you've been doing is wrong. And you have to change your mindset 100 degrees and do it the other way. I still remember this incident when I was still a student. This was like my final year of medical school. And at that time, this was in 1999, okay? At that time, if you wanted to give an ACE inhibitor for somebody, for a patient, you need to do a lot of tests to make sure that they don't have any renal problems, because, especially in diabetics, because at that time, ACE inhibitors were thought to exacerbate renal injury. Then 1 week later, I graduated from medical school and I was an intern. And I had a consultation, a cardiology consultation for one of my pre-op patients, and he was a diabetic, and the cardiologist came and he prescribed an ACE inhibitor. I was like surprised. Said, doctor, don't you want to do renal studies on this patient to make sure that they don't have any problems before they get the ACE inhibitor? Said, this is old information. Last week there was a large study in New England Journal of Medicine that has documented that ACE inhibitors are even prophylactic. They are protective for the kidney, especially in diabetics. So now we give them as prophylaxis. I went and I read that article, and it changed things 180 degrees. So things in medicine are not steady. One thing you learn today can be completely wrong tomorrow, or you need to do a twist for it the second day. And this makes doctors always amenable to learning. Once you stop learning, you start dying. And I have applied this not only to medicine, I have applied this to my practice. This is why 2 years ago I joined MIT for an executive program in general management. And this is why I learned all these things about design thinking and the staff managing and being a humble leader. I also joined a year later Harvard Medical School for the first class that they had for their surgical leadership certificate, and this was also another fruitful year that has made me look differently into those matters.
Good for you. So I do have to ask, you've had more adversity than most, and it's big stuff, like the uncertainty, the politics. COVID affected all of us, but you seem to have had added on. Just there's a lot going on in your part of the world. What's your why? Like, what drives you to just keep going no matter what?
Well, number one, if you get me 20, 30 years back in time, I would follow the same footsteps I have done over those years. So I do not regret any of the decisions that I've made in my career. And this makes me more passionate about my career and the things that I do. Actually, I consider it like something that I love to do rather than a job that I have to do. So this makes you more enthusiastic to give more and to excel more in what you do, rather than if you consider it as a job that's just giving you money, then one day you're gonna be bored with it and you don't want to do it anymore. I don't look at my practice or my career as a money-bringing object. I look at it as something that I love to do. So this is the number one driver in surviving.
Okay, and then to wrap it up, the last question is, tell us something we don't know about you.
Probably I told you this before. I'm a family guy, so I love my family. I also love poetry a lot.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I love to play guitar, although I don't know how to play guitar. But this is one thing that I still need to learn. I'm trying to learn a few steps on my own, but I would love to have a professional help in this and try to learn how to play guitar. Probably everything else you know about me.
Well, that's really interesting, the poetry and guitar. I didn't know that. Good for you. Yeah, you seem very well balanced. You've got your family, which you really care about tremendously. I know that. And you have your business that you have in perspective. And then you have your interests. So good for you. You have a nice balance there.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much for being on here with me, Dr. Hayek. And I can't wait to see you again. Are we ever going to be able to travel again? Do you know?
I hope so soon. When they get this vaccine out, I think things will start to go back to normal. And I hope this COVID is going to be just another seasonal flu that we all get vaccinated for.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully I'll see you at a meeting soon. All right. And that's it for this episode. Thank you so much. And if you enjoyed it, please head over to Beauty and the Biz at iTunes and subscribe so you can keep up on. I do these weekly. And then if you want to give me a review, that would be much appreciated. And then if you've got any questions or feedback, feel free to leave them on my website at catherinemaley.com. Or you can certainly DM me at Instagram at Catherine Maley MBA. Thanks so much, and we'll talk again.